sounds that announce the arrival of something or someone significant. It could be a doorbell or a drum roll or even a band striking up God Save the Queen. For the last 50 years of science fiction television, there have been sounds like these. For example, the electronic whine of a synthesized piano, or what sounds like an asthmatic dragon. These are the things that herald the arrival of someone very special to all of us. It's the Doctor, and we're here to celebrate him. So, here we are in Victory Comics. Coming along with me on this journey are my intrepid and rather brilliant companions. First off, we have Victory Comics' own Josh Sheridan Talley. Next up, we have John Skovron, who is a fantastic YA author. And finally, we have Ben Taylor, who is a lifelong Whovian and a writer as well. So, we're going to talk about Doctor Who, which I know you guys are all excited about. We've got our sonic screwdrivers. We're ready to roll. So, as I said, we're going back to November 23rd, 1963, which was the original premiere of Doctor Who.
An Unearthly Child.
Which was done by Sidney Newman on BBC. And now we're coming 50 years later, which on November 23rd of 2013, we're going to have the 50th anniversary episode.
Yep.
So we've come full circle with this, and it's going to be in theaters as well as on television screens.
Yes.
Simulcast.
Yes.
Pretty brilliant,
I took the day
right?
off.
Comprising of that 50 years, we've got two schools of Who.
Yep.
We've got the original, and we've got what I call New Who. And kind of the bridge to that really is the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann,
Yes.
who had what we can call a one-shot.
Now with Night of the Doctor.
Well, a 1.5 shot.
7 minutes, I don't know if that counts as a whole shot.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Do you include his audio though? His audio
Yeah,
and
the
books.
Big
He's
Finish
had the
audios. He's actually had the most adventures.
he's had
of
the
any
most
Doctor.
adventures of any Doctor. He's
Well,
been the
yeah.
longest running Doctor.
Well, then that's why he's a great bridge, no?
Yeah.
So you guys tell me about, and I'll start with John. Tell me about, compare and contrast the original series and the New Who.
It was interesting that you mentioned earlier that it was originally an educational show,
Yeah.
because there's this feeling with the original Doctor where you always, as a kid watching it, you always felt like you were learning something, especially
Yeah,
when they
sure.
go back in time. It's like, oh, I'm learning about the Aztecs, or I'm learning about the ancient Egyptians, and you felt like it was you were privy to some sort of knowledge. And as awesome as New Who is, and I do love it, I didn't really feel like the Shakespeare episode, like I really learned very much about Shakespeare. I feel like that element is different. On the other hand, I think that the kind of action adventure drama part, particularly with a through line, like these big plot arcs in the New Who that you didn't really have. I don't even know if you could have had with the
Yeah.
original Who.
I mean, the closest thing he came was The Key to Time,
Oh, good Lord.
which was an amazing story, but kind of faltered at the end. But
Yeah.
So Ben, carry on with that.
It's quite weird because, again, I have to source things as growing up back home, where Who was literally all we had. We didn't have your Captain Kirks. We didn't have your any of that. We had one hero, and it was the Doctor. So for me, especially being the stuff that I enjoyed, to see an intelligent person be the hero for once was amazing. So the older Who is very much speaking towards that side of things for me. But the newer Who, I genuinely love the fact that it doesn't look like they're walking through cardboard doors anymore.
That's for sure.
But that's not to say it's all hugs and puppies.
Right.
There are some bad things about the new Who as well.
Like, give me one.
Okay, all the love.
Oh, you mean romantic
All
love?
the romantic
or not the
stuff.
fraternal love?
All the romantic stuff.
You don't like the romance.
I don't like the romantic stuff. The Doctor only has and only ever will love one thing, and it's the TARDIS. That is exemplified in that Neil Gaiman episode.
Yeah.
I'm really getting tired of them trying to pair the companion with the Doctor.
Yeah.
Personally.
Which is why Donna was so refreshing, because she was
She
just
was
like,
great.
no.
Yeah.
But
ain't,
no,
ain't
I mean,
gonna happen, spaceman.
yeah.
Well, there was really only Rose and then sort of Martha. But
Yeah.
they haven't
But
really-
Martha was a crush. Martha
Yeah.
had a crush on
Yep.
the doctor.
And-
Rose came the closest to an actual romance, and then you have River.
Yeah.
And then
But
you
we're
have,
not talking companions.
and then you have Amy.
we will
then,
not.
Then you have Amy who.
we will not bring up Pond
and then you
Scum.
have Amy who
Oh.
literally backed him against the TARDIS and shoved her tongue down his throat.
And that's
And then you
why-
have Jonah Louise Coleman, who's Clara, who in her first appearance is literally kissing the Doctor.
in scene.
But
just-
they always kiss the doctor. That's
We
like a
don't
thing
want to
they
talk.
do.
I'm going to
Now.
let Josh talk. We don't want to talk about companions.
Right.
Yes.
I don't consider River a companion.
We don't want to talk about companions. Because this is where it goes, and
Yeah.
we'll be
Yeah.
here until midnight. So tell me about the
Isn't it
two.
already?
My thing with the new stuff is I like thank you for having better special effects finally. I am no longer
I'm not even
being
talking about
threatened
special
with a
effects, I'm talking
plunger.
about doors.
Yeah, doors aren't special effects.
The TARDIS scenery doesn't shake when he
Yeah.
slams the door anymore. You know, it's really nice to see.
But the highlights of the original.
Well, I think of the original stuff, you learned more. You definitely learned more, or there was at least a facsimile of learning more. And you did get some decent information. The new stuff is more, let's go on adventures, which is fine. I'm cool with that. I think there are some times like the Vincent episode. They addressed so many things in there. They was probably one of the best times I've ever seen a show on television address mental illness
Yes.
because they played it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my
was pretty
personal
good stuff.
theory that Amy Pond actually induced his suicide. So moving on.
Wow, you have a
I
really bad
really
dislike of her.
do.
I'd buy that for $1.
Doesn't that work though? Yeah, it's a good theory.
I'd buy that for $1.
So, but you're so right. They did handle that extraordinarily well.
Still makes me tear
Yeah.
heavily.
Really, and nothing in the original ever made you.
No, because I was when I watched the original stuff, I was young.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, PBS marathons.
The
Yeah.
moment that always makes me tear, there's two of them, and they're both Matt Smith moments.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, give
It's
'em.
it's the moment where Idris is going back to being the TARDIS, and he's like,
not
"I love
happy.
you."
Yeah.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
beautiful.
That's a good moment.
And then there's the moment where he calls up the old person's home to get them to wheel out the Brigadier, and he finds out that the Brigadier's
Yes.
died.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
so sad.
And then that's the moment that makes the Doctor go, "Okay, now I need to face my fate."
Ah, nice.
That always gets me.
See, I added the third moment in when they bring Vincent back forward in time to show him that, his.
Oh,
didn't-
the
that he's
gallery.
important.
That so much
Yes.
didn't make me cry, but I couldn't breathe. I was like, "This is so powerful."
Yeah, you're important.
Yeah.
And you know what? The way that you guys feel, or we all feel about the Doctor, and that kind of prism that you get, that joy of watching the Doctor, is I think a big part of why there was so much controversy when they started to bring in Peter Capaldi. And it's not Capaldi's fault, but this kerfuffle about Capaldi. Yeah, we're gonna let's get into
no.
it. But let me preface it so that we can get into it. All right. A part of the big problem with that is that some people wanted a female doctor. They wanted a doctor gender swap. And other people wanted an ethnicity swap. And so I want to get each of your thoughts on that, but I am going to start with John.
Okay. I was disappointed. I particularly, especially, I never really understood why it couldn't be. I mean, because it's certainly in canon with the Corsair. I mean, he mentions that the Corsair was sometimes a woman and sometimes a man.
But then there's also the contradicting canon in Lungbarrow, one of the novels, which specifically states that Time Lords don't swap gender.
Oh,
Right.
does it really?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
So
then,
you've got two sides of canon.
But in the mini episode just
Yeah.
now,
Yeah, exactly.
she says, "Do you want the cup for a boy or a girl,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
what do you want?"
all right.
As much as I hate to do this, the BBC is run by old white men.
Yep.
He's always going to be He's always going to be a white guy.
Always?
I think he's always until there is a massive turnover in the BBC who runs that place. That's how it's going to work.
There's also another issue with the BBC where they use a lot of actors in Who that are really, really good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And be they black, white, yellow, purple, green, whatever. The problem is there just aren't as many actors of color as there are white actors in England.
Yes, but you can find the one.
Yeah. No.
I mean, for example.
I completely agree.
No, I'm not saying you
agree.
can't find the one.
Right.
I'm just saying statistically, eventually,
I'm not sure that's
eventually he will
I
be.
can't,
real
I
number.
can't really go with that, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
There was discussion about Robert Patterson. This is the guy who played the Marquis de Carabas in Neverwhere.
He was
Yes.
a terrible actor.
Really?
Oh my gosh, that guy couldn't act his way out of a wet paper bag.
He's wonderful.
Have you seen him in Neverwhere?
Yes.
He's camping up the whole movie. He's
Neverwhere
just
is
like-
pure camp.
He's just like, oh, let me
I
mug
don't
at the
think we're
camera
talking
some
about
more.
Neverwhere. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what it is for me: black, white, green, blue, whatever.
Okay.
Man, woman,
Oh.
older, younger.
Yeah.
I don't care who you cast.
Yes.
Get me a good actor.
Okay, but
that's it.
there's plenty of them in all colors and
I know.
genders.
I feel like
And
as a
Peter
storyteller,
Capaldi?
Is a good
Is
actor.
He's a
Fabulous.
damn good actor.
Yes, but I think the point was, and I'm not arguing the
really
point,
wanna see
but
the
just
Dr. Cuss now.
presenting that there are many damn good actors that are women,
Yeah.
and there are, I
Alex
think
Kingston.
some Tilda Swinton, someone suggested.
No offense, but there is no way Tilda Swinton would take the pay cut necessary
it's true.
to do that.
But you know, this is a theoretical conversation.
Oh, if
The
you
point
want to get
is that-
theoretic,
no, I'm
if you
saying
want to
the
get
point
theoretic, I
is-
would love to see Tilda Swinton as like, oh my God,
Thank
she'd be
you.
amazing.
That's what I wanted. And on that happy note, as Tilda Swinton as the doctor and Simon Pegg as her companion, yay! We're going to take a little break. You're going to watch Neil Gaiman talk about his win for the doctor's wife, and we're going to have the TARDIS photo booth, which we all really wish we were in. So see you soon.
Oh, hi. I'm Matt Fraction, and you're watching Fantastic Forum.
Ulysses Campbell for Fantastic Forum. Here we are at the Annapolis Comic-Con. We're talking to Steve Long, who is a huge Doctor Who fan, as you can see. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Good. Pleasure to be here.
Now, I was so impressed when I walked up on this Doctor Who TARDIS that you have had constructed. Now, I understand that you constructed it for your daughter's wedding. Is that correct?
Yes, they got married in June of last year, and my daughter said, "Daddy, I'd really like to have a photo booth." And her fiance, now husband Skip, is a Doctor Who fan, so I said, "I think the TARDIS is about the right size for a booth." So I did a lot of research, and I had the good fortune of having a boat builder that I knew help me. And it took about 4 months, and it's completely disassembles into 15 different parts.
So you've been able to get some use out of this above and beyond simply your daughter's wedding.
Yeah, I'm still trying to pay for it.
Now, clearly you were a Doctor Who fan even before she got married. Is that correct?
I started with Mr. Baker when I was in college.
And of course, your daughter was smart enough that she actually married a Doctor Who fan. And that would be Skip, right over here.
Hey.
You married into a good family.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, very much so. I didn't know they were doing it. It was a surprise for me. So she told me, she was like, "Why don't you come out to the shop and we got something we want you to see?" So I had no idea. So I kind of opened the door and there it was. You know, like it was like in Indiana Jones, and they opened up the Ark. You know, and my head exploded. You know, it just kind of went.
And we've also got John over here, who's part of the crew.
I went to school with his daughter and grew up with her, and I saw it for the first time at the reception. All she would tell me was, "There's a surprise for you at the reception." I was like, "It's not my wedding." I walk in, and I'm talking to my wife as I'm walking in, and she's like, "John, look." I look over, and I just froze in my tracks and saw the TARDIS. It's great.
Yeah, well, we enjoyed the TARDIS so much, I decided to build a Dalek, which my daughter operates. She drives the Dalek. And John built, of course, the K9. And we're touring right now with building a Davros.
Oh, that would now would that be total? I mean, would you use like a mannequin for Davros, or would there be somebody who?
Right to your right.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I got to help out on the Dalek, so it's nice now to be able to help out on the Davros. Seeing how that'll turn out.
I see. So that's under construction now.
We're working out the bugs of it.
That's one of our other crew is a Weeping Angel.
I saw the Weeping Angel. I was keeping my eye on her.
Yeah, don't blink,
Well, now, are you excited about the upcoming 50th anniversary of Doctor Who?
We're hoping somebody will say, we need a TARDIS. We're available.
And see, you've heard it here. If you need a TARDIS, these are the guys to see. Ulysses Campbell for Fantastic Forum from the Annapolis Comic-Con. We're here at the Nebula Awards talking to Neil Gaiman. Thanks very much for being with us this evening.
Oh, thank you. This is so much fun.
Yeah, I was just saying off camera what a big fan I am of your comics work.
Oh, thank you. I love that we live in a world now in which I'm allowed to go and do comics, and then I'm allowed to do prose, and then nobody minds if I go and make a drama on TV. So it's fantastic.
Well, I tell you what, I'm also a huge Doctor Who fan ever since the Tom Baker days. The resurgence of Doctor Who has just been incredible.
I think, you have a couple of things going on. Partly, you have the wonderful way that America has embraced Doctor Who. Russell Davies brought it back in the UK, and England took it straight to its heart. And now, under Stephen Moffat with Matt Smith, it's lovely seeing America just going, yes, we love this thing too. But I think the best thing about Doctor Who is just looking back at those geniuses, Verity Lambert, Sidney Newman, the guys who were making the old Doctor Whos, who actually figured out a formula for a show that could go on forever and be as fresh and as new and as absolutely scary for kids and as involving for adults as anything, 50 years and it hasn't aged.
I can absolutely attest to that, scary for kids, because my 12-year-old daughter is terrified of Doctor Who. She loves it, so she's sort of watching, with one hand over her face.
That's the best way to watch it. The Weeping Angels should only be watched from behind the sofa. Even if you're an adult, you should just set up a little encampment behind the sofa.
All right. What's next for you?
I'm working on an HBO pilot of my novel American Gods. I'm working on a new novel. There's a couple of children's books that are going to be coming out next year.
It's a true honor to meet you, and that is a very well-deserved award, sir.
You are much too kind, and normally I wouldn't let it go to my head, but today I'm just over the moon.
I love Neil Gaiman so much. It's kind of freakish. It's like, in the bushes, stalker kind of love. But we're talking about the Doctor, who I love with equal fervor. And we've been talking about Simon Pegg as a companion to Tilda Swinton. We have any other casting calls we'd like to make if we were to do a gender swap or an ethnicity swap of the Doctor?
As a storyteller, you look at what stories have not been told about the Doctor, what dynamics between the Doctor and a companion have not been explored. The stories that you could tell with a female Doctor and a male companion, with or without romance, the whole dynamic would be so fresh and new. It would feel like a whole new show.
Yeah, and the Doctor would feel new. Even
Absolutely.
as the character, he talks about new teeth, new hair,
Yeah.
but this is boobs.
The problem with that, though, is you face an even bigger flashback than you got with Peter Capaldi. Because with Peter Capaldi, you got all of the fangirls.
Hold on. We came up with a word for this.
Okay.
We are Whovians. We enjoy the show. We talk to people about the show, and if they don't want to watch it, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are hooligans.
Okay.
They throw a fit because it's an older gentleman who is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So you're
fangirl
saying
group.
because they want a sexy, who
A
they think is
sexy
sexy.
young
Okay.
male Doctor. Because
Okay.
a lot of the current fan base came in during the David Tennant, Matt Smith era.
Yes,
So
it
it's all
did.
they've ever known. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I will never say that, because some of my best friends that I've talked to in the Hugh community came in because of David Tennant and Matt Smith.
And that's wonderful.
But those that are slavishly addicted to that, the moment you announced an older Doctor, they were like, I'm done with this show. You imagine announcing a female Doctor? They would, it would be like times by zero.
Yeah, but should we care about that?
Yeah.
Yes, we should.
Should we?
Why?
Why should we care?
Why does it need to be
takes a hit?
Because, and the way the show is made, being government funded, 90% of what keeps that show on the air is things like merchandise sales.
Are we going to mention the 6th and the 7th Doctor's run and how the BBC was trying to cancel them the entire time?
And you think that a female Doctor or a Doctor of color would destroy that?
No.
I don't think so. I think it would be the BBC would start looking at fan backlash.
That fan backlash, they'd start looking at dropping viewership, they'd start looking at...
Which is
At
ridiculous.
a certain point, you're just talking about pandering then. You're talking about the storytelling suffering.
How is that
as
any
to
different
slavishly
to any,
pander to the
How
audience.
is that any different from Supernatural, whose writer came out and said, oh, we've got a 5-year story arc. We're going into season 9 because they make money because the 2 male leads are really, really hot and they have a good female fan base.
It's not different. You have business versus great storytelling.
I ask more from certain shows than I would
so
from
do I.
Supernatural.
But
I think Doctor Who has more currency to try more things.
Yes.
I think
Oh, no,
people
I'm not
say,
saying they
and
shouldn't
plus,
try it.
and as John said, if you get a female doctor, you also have the opportunity for a hot young companion. Nubile as he may be, Cabana boy like even.
The difference being,
Yes.
in the knee-jerk day and age of the internet,
Yes.
people may not make it to the companion. They
Yeah.
would check out early. People have already checked out of the 12th Doctor.
Which is
Okay.
ridiculous.
He's not even debuted yet.
Yeah, and but you always run that risk with anything.
And that's what I'm saying.
So you don't want them to take the risk.
I'm not saying I don't want them to take the risk. I'm
Okay.
saying if they did take the risk, they have to be prepared for what's coming.
Yes.
I see. Okay, well, if we were prepared to take the risk, I'm going to throw it back. You guys, any choices for another doctor?
You'll regenerate. You'll be fine.
For a female
Female or ethnicity swap?
Oh, I would like Idris Elba.
Yeah?
Because he's got the chops.
Yeah, he
He's
does.
got the gravitas.
Yeah, he does.
So I would like to see him in the role.
No, I was going to say, we already know he can manage time and space because he was the bridge guarder in Thor.
Very true. Nicely done.
You want to pitch something to the fangirldom?
Yes, give it to us.
Hiddleston as the Doctor?
Hiddleston?
Oh, that
Tom
would be out of
Hiddleston?
control.
Yeah.
Oh, that would make me feel nice.
Or for that matter, Mr. Cumberbatch.
But that's
because
really not. That's
Cumberbatch
not what we're
turned-
talking about. It's
Cumberbatch
still white
turned down the
guys.
role.
But it's still white
I
guys.
think I'm happy he did, actually.
Okay, well then we're going to move on. We're leading up to the big 50th anniversary special. We've got the announcement of Capaldi, which even among us, we've shown what a big kerfuffle that has been. And then we've got what Stephen Moffat is now doing to introduce. And so in the last episode of last season, we got John Hurt as the War Doctor.
The War Doctor.
Specifically the War Doctor, which was introduced in The Night with the Doctor.
Night of the Doctor.
Which is a 7-minute special, which brings back Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor, regenerating into the War Doctor, which they euthanized. No, that's not the right word. They euthanized. Yeah, no. I spelled that with a Y. They made John Hurt a younger man.
Yeah, they used that de-aging technology.
Yeah.
They used
The
on
aging.
That's why
thank
you only see his
That's
reflection.
why I call it euthanized.
No. I got what you were going for.
Yeah, it was really bad though. Yeah, it's terrible. I do that sometimes. So we've got this really. I want to know how you guys are feeling about this. We've got the video lead up. We know we're getting the big episode, which is The Day with the Doctor, which will have David Tennant, we'll have Matt Smith, and we'll have John Hurt. What are we thinking?
I took the
Sorry.
day off work. I'm having a party at my house for it. We're going to watch it when it simulcasts.
Yeah,
We're going to DVR it and watch it again later.
When it comes to the whole transition thing,
Yes.
three or four things sprung to mind first of all for me. Was one, over the last, I want to say 18 months, the Big Finish audios have been doing a really big push of seeing the 8th Doctor regenerating into the 9th Doctor.
Yes.
Which we now know didn't happen. So how are Big Finish going to work around that?
Well,
second thing that popped to my mind is Paul McGann's Doctor, the 8th Doctor, you have to feel sorry for him.
Oh, yeah.
He regenerated from 7 to 8 because he got a botched surgery by a human.
Yes.
And he regenerated from 8 to the War Doctor because he was in a plane crash that he could have survived by stepping into the TARDIS.
It was a rather ridiculous plane crash, I have to say.
But my point is, like, in Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, right?
Yes.
You literally see the TARDIS crash and the Doctor just climbs out. And he's like, doo-doo. Why didn't Paul McGann just go click, click?
Because
he didn't want to leave her. The one thing that
it was a choice.
He wanted to prove to her that he was not one of those Time Lords.
But she'd already walked off and she couldn't see him.
Yes, but this is a problem
No,
that I
she
have
was
with
standing right in
Stephen
front of the
Moffat's
window.
run on the Doctors.
Yeah.
The holes are gigantic.
Oh, yes.
And troublesome. But if we get into that conversation,
That's a whole
That's a
Well,
whole
no,
other episode.
it's Doctor Who. It's forgivable because it's a MacGuffin in a MacGuffin with a MacGuffin,
Yeah.
hanging out with MacGuffins
Yes.
to solve everything.
You can literally explain everything because he's the Doctor.
And we can go back to explaining the big audio thing because in the last episode of the past season, they kind of say that he's been erased in a way. He's hidden somewhere in the memories, but he's basically been erased.
But in the audios, what they've literally been doing is like he's found the leather coat.
Okay.
He started wearing the leather coat that 9 is in.
Oh God,
He
those
started
beautiful
becoming
stills.
that more U-boat look,
Yeah.
like that utilitarian war look.
Yeah.
That beautiful, those beautiful stills they released when they
Where
redid
he's
his
got the
costume.
screwdriver.
They
Yeah.
released his costume.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, we've said Moffat just ignores these things, so we're going to ignore
Yeah.
them for the
Yeah.
sake of the conversation. Are you excited about the
Well, it's my
possibilities?
the regeneration is always my favorite thing about every Doctor. Like that's I look forward to every regeneration because it's that discovery. Even though I didn't particularly care for Matt Smith, his like that whole like scene with Amy Pond or Amelia Pond at that point
Yep.
when he with the fish fingers and custard and
Yeah, it
and
was
how he's
lovely.
discovering himself
That
all
was-
over again. Every time I love those
It's
moments.
quite interesting you say that because Matt is the first Doctor that has ever sold me that he's the Doctor in the very first episode that he's playing the role.
Really?
That moment where she's like, I'm not afraid. He's like, of course you're not afraid. Man, box falls out of sky, man falls out of box, man eats fish custard. So you know what I think? Must be hell of a scary crack in your wall.
That was a great.
That
knew he
was
was
a
the
great
That was a
moment.
really well
think
written.
about
The
it.
I
girl
was
who
like-
waited is wonderful.
I was like,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
you're the Doctor.
Yeah.
Never thought of
And
it
then
that
he was
way.
never the Doctor for me again.
Yeah, for a little,
For
for
me.
a while.
Yeah.
It took the Pandorica speech for me.
Yeah,
Really?
that was
When he got up on top of Stonehenge and went, "Come and get it," I was like, "That's the Doctor right there."
yeah.
And that's probably why I call him the Broken Doctor. For me,
He
he's
is
the
a very
Doctor.
broken Doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's dealing with the fallout that Tennant left behind.
Yeah.
Right.
But and catch me if I'm wrong, because I think when I'm watching the clips for the Day of the Doctor, I've often said that for me, Matt Smith is young David Tennant's Doctor.
Yes.
And people have argued with me, but when you see those two guys together, it's young guy and older guy of the same man.
I can see it.
I don't think I don't agree with that at all because I think that Matt Smith he's got a little of that Tom Baker in him where he's kind of like nasty and snapping and like when he
is.
calls who's the little guy, this Santaran guy, what's his name?
Oh, I can't remember his name.
But when
Sark or something
he
like
says
that?
Strax?
Yeah, he says I'm the clever one,
You're
you're the
the
potato
potato
one. That's
one.
so awful to say. David Tennant would never have said something mean
But
like
see,
that.
because you can mellow in your older age. When you're a teenager, you're ugly
That's
actor.
true.
Very briefly, each of you tell me, next 50 years of the Doctor, what do you want to see? Josh?
Everything.
Okay. John?
I would like to see what we were talking about, a gender swap, a race swap, some sort of like big shakeup like that.
Cool. Ben?
Is it too much to ask for a new head writer?
No, it is not.
Good.
And Stephen Moffat is actually one of my favorite all-time writers, but not on The Doctor.
Yeah.
And so with all of that said, what I'd like to see for the next 50 years is just a whole lot more Doctor Who. You can't get much better than that. So here we are at Victory Comics. We're going to sign off with my 3 fantastic companions, and we'll see you sometime in the time stream.
Victory! 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 Victory!
Join the Fantastic Forum fan community on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for all the latest news and updates.